Hello, hello, online learners. Today, happy Tuesday, we're going to talk about solving equations a little bit. And I just kind of wanted to go through some review with you guys. So, stuff that you should remember, but you might not remember. And just kind of go through a couple practice ones and kind of talk about steps a little bit. And then we are going to um, add a couple steps to that throughout the rest of the week. We're kind of solving equations for the rest of the week. We'll do some with variables on both sides, and we'll do some weighted average kind of things. So we're going to start with something not too bad. Let's say you had something like 3 times the quantity 2x plus 5 minus x equals 55. Okay? You see that okay? Yeah. All right, so there's a couple things that we talk about in here. Remember that when we're solving equations, there's a couple things we need to look for. We always want to get x by itself, right? That's the main goal. And so in this case, I see some x's. I want to get those all in one group and get them by themselves. I also am going to have to get rid of these parentheses somehow in order to solve this thing. So a couple of these property things that we need to remember. First of all, hopefully you're thinking when you see these parentheses, you're thinking distributive property. We can take this 3 and we can multiply it by all the numbers inside. 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times 5 is 15. And then that kind of gets rid of those parentheses for us, right? So that's one thing. The second thing we need to think about is combining like terms. So remember, things are like terms if they have the exact same variable. So for example, in this case, we have 6x and negative 1x or minus 1x. Those are the same variable, right? They're both an x. And we can combine things if they have like terms if they're on the same side. That's going to be really, really easy for us to do and important for us to do. Probably the number one mistake I see when people solve equations is if they don't combine like terms, and then they get really confused at trying to solve those things. So 6x minus 1x, if we combine those two things, that would be 5x. And we still have 15. And on this side, we're still chilling with 55. From there, it's just a little two-step equation, right? And hopefully you guys remember doing two-step equations. But if you don't, whenever we want to get x by itself, always get rid of whatever we add or subtract to it first. So to get rid of this plus 15, we're going to subtract 15. That's going to leave us 5x equals 40. And then to get rid of the 5, we're going to divide by 5. And x is 8. Yeah, cool stuff that you definitely have done before. But you just might not remember exactly doing all of those steps. Distributive property, adding like terms. Hopefully that kind of helps you. Let's add some. I just had to grab my book real quick. Let's say we have some trickier stuff going on. I wanted to show you example 1, but I'm on the wrong page. Here we go. All right, so in example 1, we have 2 times the quantity x plus 4 over 3 minus 8 equals 32. Cool. All right, so some similarities and differences. All equations are going to kind of look a little bit the same, and they're all going to look a little bit different. They're all a little unique, right? So here, something that we need to notice, we know that parentheses are kind of this grouping symbol that kind of beg for our attention, right? Like something's going on here, you need to figure out, look at this, something's important here. So this is kind of like one group of stuff going on, but outside of this group, we have -8 over here. So there's multiple roads to the right answer here. But what I would like to do is, since this is kind of a group that we'll take care of here in a second, what we could do is just get rid of -8 first. And in your book, if you look on page 11, which is the beginning of chapter 1, section 2, there's two ways that they do it. One of the ways is to get rid of the 8 first, which is what I would recommend. The other way they did it was they got rid of 3 first. So they multiplied by 3 to get rid of divide by 3. But when you do that, you got to multiply by everything else. And a lot of times people would forget to do that by the 8 here. So I would recommend that I would get rid of the 8, add 8. And then it looks a little bit more manageable, I think. So personally, that's my move. And then I'm going to go ahead and now I'll get rid of this 3. So since all of this stuff, now you're probably like, Mr. Doherty, you distributed first last time. Why not just distribute first here? You could distribute here, right? 2 times x is 2x, 2 plus 4 is 8. Or 2 times 4 is 8. So it'd be 2x plus 8. And we're going to distribute in a second. We can. But I just kind of want to show you like a different idea. And then you can go from there, like kind of pick and choose what you want to do or when you want to do this. So if we want to, I think it's really important to get rid of the idea that it's a fraction is good to get rid of. So to get rid of this whole denominator of 3, we can multiply by 3. And it's just going to cross that out. And then over here, we can multiply by 3. And that's going to give us 2 times the quantity x plus 4 equals 120. And now you're left with a decision. So from here, again, you could distribute. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 4 is 8. You could totally do that. But we could also just divide by this 2 that's multiplied by this number x plus 4. So check this out. This is a little bit different than what we did last time. If I divided by 2, it's going to cancel out the multiply by 2. If I divide by 2 over here, now we can drop the parentheses because there's nothing else by this x plus 4. So we know that x plus 4 equals 60. And then a simple subtract 4. And so in this one, we got x equals 56. So again, multiple ways to get there. In fact, we could have done it several different things in different orders in order to get to 56. That's just one of the ways to do it. So you just got to remember the basics. When you do something to one side, make sure you're doing it to the other. That's the tricky part with this multiply by 3. Because when you multiply, you need to multiply this whole side. If you think about it, we're adding 8 to this whole side. But it's only going to affect this -8. So oftentimes we don't even think about that. Because it just kind of matches up with its like term here. And then here, like I said, if we distributed 2x plus 8 equals 120, you can see that if I subtract 8, that's going to be 112 divided by 2, and there's your 56. So it's the same thing. It just depends on how you want to do that, which is pretty cool. My kids, if you heard that, my kids sound like ghosts. All right. I think I'm just going to do example 2 for you guys and then call it quits for this kind of review of solving equations. And then I'm going to get you guys some practice stuff that I'll put up. And again, I don't care, whatever is your preference. If it was me, I would want to leave my work in my notebook and then take a picture of it and send it to me. But if you're totally cool typing in all your steps on Google Docs, it just is really annoying for me to type math. So that's on you, whatever you want to do. Example 2 says, the sum of 3 consecutive integers is 132. What are the 3 integers? So we have 3 numbers. So x plus y plus z equals 132, right? However, there's something a little bit, and this would be really hard to solve if that's all we knew, but it said the sum of 3 consecutive integers. So we can actually do a little bit more with this. We know, we'll call the first number x, right? But what do we know about the second number if the first number is x? Well, if they're consecutive, it would be 1 more than x. So we'll call that, instead of y, we'll just call it x plus 1, like that. Right? Because it's 1 more than the number that x is, that's why they're consecutive. And then, in fact, we can think of something with z. How is z related to x? Well, if y is 1 more, then z is 2 more, right? So this would be x plus 2. So really we have this equation. And if you guys remember from last year, you should have solved equation systems. If we have more than one variable, we know that we're going to have to solve a system of equations. But since we rewrote y and z in terms of x's, we should be able to solve this equation just from the knowledge that we already have. So, does it matter that this is in parentheses, or can I break into it? The only time it would matter is if there was a denominator or a number that we're multiplying through it. Right now, there's no number on the outside. There's no number underneath. So we could just drop those if it freaks you out. We just have x plus 1 plus x plus 2. So I'm going to go ahead and drop those. Because we didn't have to distribute. We weren't dividing by anything. And then we can see some like terms, right? We have how many x's? 1, 2, 3. So that's 3x. 1x plus 1x plus 1x. And then we also have 1 plus 2 is also 3. That's some like terms. And that's 132. So in this case, we just had to set it up, which is sometimes the hardest part of equations. You guys probably agree. Set it up, and then we're going to just add like terms right off the rip, right? We don't have any distributive property or anything. From here, we get down to our two-stepper, so we're just going to subtract 3. Subtract 3. That gives me 3x equals 132 minus 3 is 129. And then we'll divide by 3 to figure out what x is. 3 goes into 12 4 times, 3 goes into 9 3 times. So x must be 43, right? So this number up here is 43, which would make y 44 and z 45. And if we check that, they better add up to 132, otherwise I did something wrong. Which sometimes I do. So, you know how that goes, probably, right? That's just some review. If you guys have trouble with these, definitely let me know. Send me a remind. That's the best way to get a hold of me still. Just send me a remind like, hey, what am I doing wrong with this one? And take a picture of it. And I'll be able to get right back to you. I know I told you guys that I was planning on having these videos all out on Monday. Boy, is this way harder than I thought it was going to be. So I'm trying. I feel like I'm falling behind already, which is rough, but hopefully it won't be too bad and I'll be able to get a couple out here. I know Friday we won't have a video because I'm just going to give you some practice work from the rest of the week. Because I feel like 4 lessons is really jamming it anyway. So we'll see how that goes, okay? All right, you guys have a wonderful day. And let me know when you struggle with your equations, all right? Have a good one.